Hey guys, what's up? It's Marie with Swipe in the City, and I am here with Michelle in the studio. Michelle, how are you?
Thank you. I appreciate being included. We have no idea what order we're going to release these in, so y'all might hear our bullshit before this or after. No one knows. But,
but stay tuned for behind the scenes.
No, I'm honestly doing well. My brother and Nicole, his girlfriend, just moved to town. I'm feeling super stoked and just fulfilled to have them here and have them close. It's just been awesome to see them the last couple of days. We're both you and I are both fully vaxxed, so that feels good. I'm getting ready to go see some family back in Portland. I've been on a couple of interesting dates. It's been, things are good though. Working on it.
I love that you used the word fulfilled.
That because my heart is full.
I love that. That.
I mean, maybe not full. There's a little room. Wink. No, but it just. There was just we went to dinner last night, and because I saw them for coffee or the dogs meeting or whatever, but we went to dinner last night, and I was just this is home, this is family. Yeah. I posted on Instagram, I was my babies are home. I'm just really stoked. I'm just really happy that they're here, and
Aww.
Blue loves them and everything. So it just. For those who don't know, Austin is very far from home from me. I'm from the Northwest, and when I moved here, I knew 2 people, and I don't have family close or anything. So I'm feeling.
I love that. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. Again, I love fulfilled. I feel that's, I think what most people live for is that feeling of fulfillment. Whether it's your job or your significant other
or your Amazon order.
Yes. Oh, which I should be getting my books delivered soon. I'm so excited. I ordered 3 books for leadership development, and so 2 of them were recommended by some of my colleagues, and one of them is Mike Johnson's book. And
which was recommended by a colleague?
No, it was not. It's not. I ordered 3 books that I'm all grouping into the leadership development category because even though Mike's book is about love, I feel he is a strong leader. He gives me big leader vibes.
Also, we've had a couple of Mike Johnson.
Yes.
Sightings.
I taught him to curtsy.
You taught him to curtsy. I tried to buy him a shot, and he did not accept. I think it's because he did not take any shots. I watched him from the bar, creepily, like a fucking psychopath, as I'm at the bar by myself, and I was just is he gonna take a shot with someone else? Is that it?
Another bitch.
But he's for y'all.
A shot is aggressive. If you were hey, can I buy you a drink or a beer? Drink is vague enough to work. Beer is
I should have said drink.
less aggressive. A shot is very aggressive.
I missed my opportunity.
Well, I mean, he lives here, so hopefully you'll have another one. Mike, if you're listening, your podcast soothes me, and I think your love book will be great for leadership.
And you've got big love vibes.
Big love leadership vibes. I mean, to be fair, I feel really good leaders are also leaders of their household. It trickles into other aspects of their life, not just professionally.
Oh yeah, no, that's
not always, but I think that's the way it should be.
How are you? Besides all these books,
you said that so dramatically.
Well, because we're so off of our normal. I think we're relearning how to record in person.
I think so too. I think we're more distracted than we were over Zoom because Zoom gives us the work vibe. Exactly.
We're going to set an agenda. We're going to go through our agenda, and then we're going to follow up and close with our points.
We do typically have an agenda, though. We have intro where we bullshit, beer plug, content, wrap.
Speaking of beer plug.
I was just going to say, I'm nobody cares how I am. Let's talk about this beer you found.
So the bodega, as Marie, for the first time in her fucking life that I've ever heard said today, She said, do we need to go to the bodega? And I was like, no, girl, I already went. That's the corner store.
The corner store, for those of you who don't know. Michelle, what did you purchase?
Well, I stole it, first of all. Can you imagine stealing beer from the store that is across the street from where we live, that we go into like 2 to 5 times a week?
That would be sad.
It's from Carbach Brewing, which is, are they in Austin? Or are they?
They're Texas. I don't know if they're in Austin.
It just says Texas. They're in Houston. They're in Houston. That's
okay.
Cool. That's okay. So,
that's okay.
I was feeling punny picking out this beer. So it's a strawberry blonde. And
called Strawberry Fields.
Strawberry Fields. And it is
delightful.
Delicious. Yeah.
Yes.
I also got a beer called Long Gone Blonde because I'm
appropriately
blonde,
named.
And long gone are the men I'm interested in. Ouch.
Oh, man. Paul, we need you for the sound effects.
Or Lindsay for the xylophone.
Yeah. Well, we need Paul for the xylophone, too, because it was his.
Well, we have a shaker. Anyways, y'all. So we're drinking some good beer. We're back in the studio. I feel like people can probably hear, like, our energy is
so different. So different.
Yeah. We'll get into that later, but.
Well, and it's like, I mean, for me too, it's like you and I have both been battling a lot of stuff lately. And like, I know I personally am like starting to feel it, like some of it being relieved, which is a really good feeling. So I feel like I am also like my energy generally is different.
Yeah. I mean, just like a general plug too for like, we say it a lot, but if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, anything like that.
Literally anything.
Even if you don't think you are, but you're kind of like, you're feeling like, so my thing is I'm like, oh, I'm in a funk, but I'll be in a funk for a month. No.
Yeah.
Like that's depression.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to realize that. Seek out a therapist. There are a lot of online options. If you're someone who does, better with medication, or if that's what you need, like don't be afraid of that. Don't worry about like the stigmas. Like I have so many friends that have struggled and they finally were like, I'm gonna try this, whether it's like an anti-anxiety pill or antidepressant or something like that. And it's like, y'all, like that's brain chemistry stuff.
Well, and like keep in mind too, like different drugs work differently for different people, because literally all of our brains are very different. Like that's been part of my like recovery. That sounds like I'm addicted to something, but it's been
like
part
mental health process.
of my process. And when to your point too, when I initially went in, and this was a few years back that I went on antidepressants. So I was taking Prozac, Xanax, and Adderall were my 3 scripts, and I went in. Not necessarily with like drugs are bad mindset. Like obviously my stepdad's a psychologist. But I went in my head, like I'm in such a funk. I need additional help and not just therapy to get through this. This is a temporary thing. And I used them for a couple of years and then I stopped and it was fine. And then the pandemic hit and here we are. And so it's like I went back on Prozac and it did not work for me. It made things so much worse this time because your brain also changes, I guess, as you grow up. Newsflash.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, there's so many factors.
But I'm on one now that has a stimulant component, Wellbutrin, which when I told my stepdad, he goes, well, that's better than bad Butrin.
Hey.
Thanks for your psychological advice, sir. But to make a long-winded spiel on mental health short, it has been like night and day since I started it.
Well, what's crazy, it hasn't been that long.
It's been less than a week.
I can tell. Like, yeah. I can, every time I see you, every time I talk to you, like, I can tell you're feeling so much better. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like, so part of why I mentioned this is because, like, I know a lot of, like, my family, I've, like, encouraged, like, try therapy or try this or that. And, like, they're very hesitant because they're like, oh, well, I'm fine. I'll figure it out. And it's like, there are resources for a reason, and there are things where like getting that external help, getting, you know, or again, if it is like, you know, depression or anxiety or those things, those are health issues. Those are things that like, there are chemical imbalances in your body, and don't be afraid to like try things.
Yeah. And I mean, think about it too, especially if you're having like any sort of friendship or relationship issues, having a non-biased third party. Granted, they are only hearing your side of the story, more than likely, unless you're doing marriage counseling, but like there's a huge value to not just like bitching about something to your friends who are probably going to be on your side, but talking to somebody who's actually evaluating with a different lens. Yeah, I think if you need help, just do it. Although if you're anything like us in Austin right now, it's really fucking hard to find a therapist.
I'm on like, I don't know, week 400 of trying to find a therapist, but I submitted like 2 forms. I'm not trying that hard. But
it's also hard to look for a therapist. That's we could literally do an episode on that.
But today,
yes,
we're going to do a continuation of our, what was it called?
How soon is too soon?
And we're throwing in a couple little wrenches for y'all. How long is too long? Wow.
Sorry. Oh, man.
We're talking about hair.
Obviously, which mine totally is, but...
let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
How soon is too soon to talk about the future with your date? This one's a tough one for me because this is like... The future could literally be like, are we getting another beer? Because that's
right. It's big.
But this is like more like maybe long term.
Well, so what made me think of this was literally our conversation about your date the other day.
Oh.
And how you mentioned that he had made comments of like, oh, well, like what was it exactly? When you meet somebody when we do this.
It was comments around like, oh, well, when we're, you know, meeting family or like I don't, that wasn't it. But it was like, it was very like assumptive. To me, it felt assumptive. It was a first date. And like, it was very much like, oh, well, when this, rather than like, oh, you know, hypothetically, or just like not. I don't know, man. For me, a first date is like
too soon.
And
I've had guys even on like the first conversation where like we haven't even moved to text saying things like, oh, well, like if your, you know, family comes up in conversation, like, oh, well, yeah, like when you meet my mom. I'm like, I'm like, bitch, I haven't even met you.
Yeah, that's also the same person was like, you like, oh, you should, we were making plans for a second date, which I then canceled. And so, well, basically I was like, I was feeling myself be wishy-washy, but I like made the plans anyways. And then I had like a change in plans with dinner with my brother, which affected the plans, but not really. Like,
right.
I knew my brother and Nicole were like, I knew Zan? No. Nan.
Nobody has a Z in their name.
Nan. I knew Nan. They're like chill. I knew they were going to go home early, right? So I like realistically, I could have been like, hey, I'll meet you at like 8:30.
Yeah.
But I felt myself being wishy-washy. I still made the plans, and then I took a shower and I washed my hair. And
huge change.
Literally, poor Marie is like getting these text messages that just like, it's me having a conversation with myself. And I'm like, I don't know, this. And then I'm like, fuck it. And then I'm like, drop the bomb. Basically,
just do it.
I was just like completely transparent. You know, I was like, hey, I'm feeling wishy-washy, which like tells me, you know, and you don't necessarily have to give this much detail, but he was like, being more expressive, so I was trying to give him a little bit more in return. But I was just like, hey, I'm feeling wishy-washy. That tells me that like whatever the
I'm not going to show up. I might physically be there, but I won't show up.
And I was like, I don't want to, like, I know you're looking for someone who's ready to date, ready to be serious. Not that I'm not, but I was like, I don't want to waste your time, whatever. What I didn't tell you is he called me.
Oh.
And he was like, no, like, I was actually impressed. I was like, okay, does this guy actually
Does he care? What?
I don't know. So now I'm like tempted to go, like, so I canceled the date and now I'm tempted to go on a second date. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
but
whatever makes sense for you.
But if we go back to fuck yes or fuck no,
you're clearly not.
I'm not a fuck yes about even a second date.
How soon is too soon to evaluate if you're fuck yes or fuck no?
Today. Getting into our next one. Well, I think we're gonna bump down and then bump back up. So, continuing on the future idea. So to start planning your future with someone. What is that? So when you think outside of like your current situation, when you think about planning your future with someone,
a human,
what does that mean to you?
And this is jaded, but it means I'm setting myself up for failure because it probably won't go that way and I'll get disappointed.
Not quite what I meant in the question. However, on a future episode, we're going to talk about when you ask a question or put something out there, you have to accept what comes back, what the response is. That's a future episode. So,
to kind of elaborate though, like, so to be fair, the ex I dated in high school going into college, and then the guy that I dated in college, those are the only two guys that I've ever had a quote plan where we'd talked and had a discussion around like, do we want kids? Do we want to get married? When do we want to get married? Like things like that. And I have not done it with another guy since because those relationships went to hell in a handbasket. Like,
no, that's absolutely fair. That's like, it's interesting because it's actually been a significant amount of time since my past very serious relationship, but there were a lot of those elements of like, are we going to this next step? Are we not? Are we, and so like, I feel like I'm open to a relationship and I'm open to like a serious relationship, but I'm scared.
Yeah, me too.
And I like the idea of like going back into having those conversations and like having those discussions and doing that planning is terrifying.
Yeah. And like my thing too is for the most part, I would say like I'm mostly focused on like my job, right? Like my job, this podcast now, like my friends, the things that I feel like I do have a little bit more control over, you don't really have control over the other person in the relationship. And like, even if it's just like the rate that they're changing. Hold on. Yeah. And so like one of the things I think about too, is my boyfriend and I were talking about this a couple months ago watching The Bachelor. Is so when Kit dumped Matt, for anybody who didn't watch last season, you, Michelle.
I got bored. I tried to watch for you and I was like, this show fucking sucks. Except for Mike Johnson. We love you.
Mike Johnson wasn't on this season.
No, I know, but he's the He's
Bachelor
the
Nation,
the
like
yeah.
royalty. But anyway, so Kit was talking to Matt and basically dumped him because she has her life plan, both personal and professional, mapped out like pretty much to a T. And she was like, I don't see you fitting into this. And it sounds really like court and like kind of mean, but she obviously like said it. She liked him. It wasn't that she didn't like him. She was just like, I feel like we're on two different paths.
That's fair.
Yeah. And like, I was talking to and Luke made a comment like, all pretty girls have plans like that. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And he's like, I mean, like any girl I've talked to that's like really pretty, like has her life mapped out like that. And I was like, okay, so I don't have my life planned out like that. So does that make me ugly? That was my reaction. But like, I just don't like, and I've also been laid off multiple times from jobs where I was planning a future within that organization. And so it's like, I take much smaller steps. I'm not sitting here like, all right, by the time I'm 32, I want to be running my own business. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, it's a very vague plan that I have. And it's like within this span of time, because I feel like that's really, I mean, life gets in the way so easy.
Well, like, I get hard on myself because I'm like, oh, you don't have like, some fucking dude on Hinge was like, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, really?
Fuck off.
What is this, 1992? Like, fuck off, dude. Because here's the thing. No one planned for the fucking pandemic. Mm-hmm. Okay? No one planned to be, like, working remote for a year and a half. Like, all this other stuff. Like, not to say, like, goals and plans aren't important, but I get hard on myself sometimes because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I working towards? And then I'm like, not that long ago, my entire life got turned upside down. I changed careers. I got out of a relationship. I moved in that situation. And then like a year and a half ago, I moved across the country. Thankfully, I was able to like stay with my job, but I also completely changed careers within my company. And like in this moment, I'm like, I don't give myself enough credit. Yeah. And I think you're the same way. Like, we're aware, but we don't give ourselves enough credit for, like, rolling with the punches, adapting, changing, making big fucking choices. Big, hard choices. Yeah.
And, like, I think you brought up like, changing jobs multiple times, too, because you and I both have had different careers. Like, we have gone from, and like to be fair, like marketing and sales are pretty closely related, but they are vastly different.
The day-to-day, the mentality in the day-to-day is
very different. And like prior to that, I like did freelancing for myself. I did like other things. And so I think that's a really good point. Is just like, and there are other things that I want to do too, right? Like ultimately, if you ask me my like 5-year plan, I was like, well, okay, so in 5 to 10 years, I would like to be opening a brewery with my brother. Like, but that's also like 5 to 10 years. Like, a lot can happen in that span of time. And also, a brewery is very different than working in sales for a real estate startup.
So, to answer our own question, then...
Wow, what a rabbit hole we just went down.
All the rabbits. I don't know. I don't think there's an answer to how soon is too soon to start planning. Like for me, like this comes after when we talk about like long-term future, like for me, this comes after being exclusive, being in a committed relationship, maybe going to like a wedding or two together, maybe going to a family event or two together, maybe like traveling to meet, like now because we have to travel to meet family, like that kind of stuff. Like looking at those longer term, whether it's, you know, not everyone wants to get married, but like whether it's marriage or kids or living together, for me that, I don't know why a year is kind of my like general mark for some of those things, because I think it's because like you go through someone's like,
you see a lot of ebbs and flows within
like,
a year.
Life cycle, right? And so
all the seasons.
Wow. Rent just came in my head. Like,
well,
also I never reference anything. I don't know.
Yeah, weird. I'm with you though. I feel like my personal advice for myself and anybody who wants to take it when it comes to planning a future with another person is to just take it one step at a time. You know, you have the relationship or the exclusivity talk with somebody. You don't need to also discuss like exactly when you're going to move in together, exactly when you want to get married. Do you want to maybe like also broach those conversations generally? Sure. But like to keep it in a way that's, I think, a little bit less aggressive. Is that the right word? It's not the right word.
No, I get what you're saying. Well, it's not even aggressive. It's more so like plugging someone into your agenda, like your life agenda,
right,
rather than like being in the moment or experiencing that relationship. Because every relationship moves at a different pace. Every person moves at a different pace. And like, I hate it when I see people that are like, well, we've been together for 6 months and he hasn't said he loves me. It's like, well,
you can't, well, we'll get to that one later.
Yeah. I mean, it's just more so like, I mean, this whole episode's like, how soon is too soon? But also, for a lot of things, it's a spectrum. I haven't said that in a while.
I know. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of the things, honestly, that I really appreciate about my current relationship is that, and I think the pandemic has kind of forced him and I to do this, but it has forced us to just be like, okay, this is what we're at. This is where we're at right now. Like, let's not worry about what we're doing in a couple of months or when we're going to move in or whatever, because our world literally just got turned upside down.
Yeah. I think there's a very important piece to like, this is today. But I would say like, for me, if someone within the first like couple of dates or months is really future planning focused, it's just not where I'm at. And some people are like, for example, like Bex came on, right?
Yeah.
And she knew exactly what she wanted.
Right.
And before she even went on a date with her now husband and they're about to have a baby, like she's like, here are my things. This is what I want. I don't know that she had like a timeline.
Right.
But she was ready in that moment to like talk about the future.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. That worked out for them.
Well, I think it probably worked out because they were both those types of people that wanted and were in that same mindset.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus I think a lot of times it's like, oh, well, like I'm worried it's been this long and maybe we should be doing this. And just because what was right for Bex and her husband doesn't mean it's right for you.
Yeah. I mean, like, so on that note, to a degree, right? Like in my past relationship, we had been together for 5 years. Okay, we lived together, but we'd been together for 5 years. We took a trip, and because other people were like, well, it was in my head a little bit too, because other people were like, oh, you're going to like this place, or this,
no.
like, do you think he's gonna propose? Do you think it's this? And so it got into my head, and it was in the back of my head, and or even not even the back, it was like in the side of my head. It was like in between, right? But it was kind of one of those things where like, because other people were putting like not even other people, like, to be fair, like 5 years is that's a fair amount of time.
That is a decent amount of time. But that was also several years ago and you were pretty young.
Right. But yeah, it's just interesting how you can have like those expectations. I think the biggest thing is like communicating around stuff like that, rather than like being like, oh, well, we've been together for a year, so now we need to live together. And then we've been together for 14 and a half months. So now we need a dog. And we've been together.
This is the next step.
Shit, we're at 18 months. So I think we need a crock pot. Like,
you should have a crock pot when you move in together.
Or not.
I love my crock pot.
Can we move to something a little less serious?
Yeah.
Marie, how long is too long to wait for a text back?
Forever and ever. Just kidding. It depends on what the text is, okay. I think.
So where I think about this, like, so hypothetically, right? You and I have matched on a dating app.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we've matched on a dating app. We're chatting, right? Back and forth a little bit. Full disclosure, I'm not a bad texter. I do a lot of things. Like I'm a genuinely like busy person, and I don't typically like to have like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you? What do you do? Like I just.
What are you eating?
I don't. Oh God, why does everyone want to know what I'm eating?
I have no fucking clue.
I was going to make a comment, but I'm just going to save it for later.
Good plan.
But I guess what comes to mind here is like, okay, so you go on a first date, right? And typically, in my opinion, one person or the other, if it's super late, you might not send like a text that night, but maybe the next day, like, hey, I had a great time. Mm-hmm. We should go out again. Or, hey, I had a great time. Blah, blah, blah. So, some sort of like, hey, conclusion and next steps.
Like a thank you note when you have a job interview, pro tip. I expect that message within 24 hours.
So
I'll give you the full, like I will give 24 hours. People are busy, especially say it was a late night and
sure.
you had an early morning.
Sure.
Fine. But you've got 24 hours.
So how long is too long to get one of those texts?
You mean like, so we go on a date.
Let's say we went on a date.
I text you a week later.
Yeah.
That's fucked. That is, I just went on three to five other dates and I am now circling back to you.
Yeah. No.
It's gross.
I agree. I think like in that particular situation, like, because for me, it's always a like, even I just got home or this or that, and then like the next day. But yeah, if there's no text the next day, to me that's a sign of disinterest. That means you're not interested.
I completely agree. And like also another pro tip, when you are leaving the date, I like to tell people, or actually I more so appreciate when they tell me if we're driving separately, text me when you get home. It's a great reason to like give the other person to text you, and then they like maybe start the conversation from there or something.
Agreed. Yeah. And if I feel like it's warranted, it's usually like within 24 hours that I'll send the like, hey, I'm not feeling it text.
Yeah.
If it's
warranted.
If it's warranted. Like sometimes it's not. Like you go out, you hang out.
Nobody texts.
That's fine. How long is too long to wait for a text back after you've sent an important message, like asking someone like how they feel or putting your feelings out there or something like that?
That's a tough one, I think, because for me, especially when you're communicating that by text too, more so than having a face-to-face conversation, I think it can be helpful, especially in a serious conversation. Read the message, internalize it, think about it before you respond.
Yes, but for how long?
I mean, I'll say 24 hours is too long.
I would go shorter than, well, okay.
It depends on like if you're going to bed, I'll like maybe like 12 hours.
Okay, sleeping hours don't count.
Okay, also working, like, which is literally all we do.
Besides this,
I give people a break during work. Like if I text you at lunchtime and you text me back during your lunch and then I don't hear from you for the next 5 hours, I'm not worried. You're fucking working.
Oh, 100%. But let's just say he's dreaming. Blue is dreaming, if anyone's wondering.
He's making weird noises if it's catching in the background.
That's because he's probably chasing
a squirrel.
Squirrels around. I don't
Good
know.
for him.
Anyways, I think, well, here's the thing. Here's the difference. If you're actively texting.
Yeah.
If you're having a conversation and then someone drops a bomb, I think you got a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Because you're already saying, like, you're already engaging and then you're in.
Right.
You know, and like, sure, if you need to process stuff,
sure.
But, like I had to have a conversation with, well, sad. I think he's considered a former friend of mine now. But we had to have a little conversation around, where we stood, and he had like initiated the conversation and then disappeared for like 2 hours. And I'm like,
hello,
are we gonna fucking talk about this or not or what? And so we were supposed to hop on a call, and then it was just like, I was literally in bed. I was like, dude, can we just just text it out? Like, we're not going to be able to meet in person until blah, blah, blah. Like, can we just text it out? And, you know, it ended how it ended. But for me, it's like, if it's a serious conversation and you're already actively engaging, like you've got a couple of hours.
Yeah. Also, like,
If it's
the other person, like if I'm the person that sends that message and I'm sitting here waiting, I am waiting on pins and needles.
Right. No,
I am
anxiety,
anxious. I am like, did I say the wrong thing? Like, what the fuck is the other person thinking? And it is so, and I try to give a little bit of grace too, which is like kind of why I guess my window's a little bit longer. But I think to your point too, if you are having a conversation, like if I text you out of the blue and it's some long ass message about how you're a piece of shit, then like
I mean, I am.
Then like you probably don't need to respond right away. Like
I'm actually a very good person. It's just
you
funny
are.
To call myself a piece of shit.
Sure.
Daniela Hannah would not approve. So going back to just tell him to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell him my. Anyway, so while she's doing that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And if y'all haven't heard, we are sponsored by Jared Freed. No, I wish.
I wish.
In our dreams. We're sponsored by Death by Mimosa. On Instagram, they're Death X Mimosa. They are the brand for Sunday Fun Day, hangovers. They've got, we both have, we have 2 sets of matching crop tops.
We're precious.
We're ridiculous. But one of them says still drunk from yesterday, which I think is just hilarious.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then I have got like a little dad cap that says like just Death X Mimosa, and I've gotten complimented on it so many times.
It is super cute.
And then like Lindsay wore it for a week.
She stole it.
But yeah, so we have a code. It's swipe right, because you should swipe right on Death by Mimosa.
Cute.
And yeah, support one of our favorite brands. And speaking of that, what else is too soon?
How soon is too soon? I think this one's for Daniela Hannah. How soon is too soon to buy an expensive gift for your person? What would Daniela Hannah say?
Never. You buy
first
the gift
date.
on the first date.
No, an expensive gift.
Daniela Hannah would have, like, if I called my mom and I was like,
he brought me a pearl necklace.
Does anyone wear pearls anymore?
Oh, I've been watching a lot of Riverdale.
What if he brought us Kendra Scott? Us, because we're one now.
We still, our Kendra Scott date failed miserably.
Kendra Scott has been following me on Instagram. I'm about to go drop some money there. Well, once I pay for my fucking $2,000 Portland trip.
Woof.
Help.
Anywho.
So this one's hard for me because, well, expensive is relative, and
Also true.
And also, I hate to say it, but it kind of depends on like your means as well. Like if you're someone who's making like $200,000 a year, and what is like expensive to someone else is
nothing to you.
Is just like, or not even nothing, but just like,
right.
Oh, like this is, I saw you and I thought of, like, I saw this and I thought of you.
Yeah.
But in general, like, I wouldn't be comfortable knowing someone like set aside money or budgeted for or whatever,
saved.
Or saved.
Yeah.
Or like, I would, again, the 1 year mark is kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it depends.
You like 1 year. I like 24 hours.
That's why you're in a relationship and I'm single and getting ghosted by therapists. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God. I don't think that's the reason.
That's it.
We solved dating.
We solved dating, Jordana.
Oh, it's been great chatting with you, Jared.
He's going to Dallas. Okay, sorry.
Anyways, we'll talk about that offline. Jared, please come to Austin. Anywho, yeah, I agree with you. I think, but for me, generally, like it also depends on if there's an event coming up, like if it's your birthday or Christmas.
If it's like random versus for a reason.
I think, yeah, exactly. Like I would spend more money on somebody for an occasion.
Sure.
Versus, I was at the store and I saw this and I thought of you. that usually like is something that was like a couple of dollars. You know what I mean? Like I have a koozie saved that I actually meant to throw in my cart yesterday for you that has dinosaurs on it. It's like a $5 koozie. But that's not an expensive gift for me.
You got me a dinosaur koozie?
No, I meant to. I have it saved in my Amazon cart and it was supposed to get thrown in there yesterday, but I was like going crazy. It's super cute. You're going to love it.
I'm going to wear that and this shirt. I'm going to buy some dinosaur shorts.
Yes.
So yeah, this is, I mean, too soon I would say is for me still like expensive, whatever relative that is. I would say like before, like within the first 3 months is too soon. Even if
I agree.
Even if it's a birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, I would say within the first 3 months. After that, it's kind of like, it depends, right? Because if you're one of those couples that like knows each other for 6 months and you're engaged, like,
right.
Cool. Dope.
Right.
However,
then you get a really expensive gift. It's called an engagement ring.
Here we are.
That's a whole nother like talk about expensive. But yeah, I mean, like Christmas came up. Luke and I started seeing each other in August. And we were also not boyfriend, girlfriend. We were exclusive, but weren't labeled. Because dating is a spectrum. And I bought him like candy and like a coffee mug for Christmas because I just like, it was I was at Target and it had cats on it and I saw it and I thought of him.
Right.
Which makes him sound like a weirdo, but he has a cat.
We're not going to get into dating cat people
Yeah. That was a past episode kind of.
I had an idea, but I'll tell you later.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think spending a few dollars here or there, especially if like you don't know if they're going to get you something too.
I mean, even guys I'm like casually saying, if I see something, I'm like, God damn it. Like this guy would love this. It's like, if it's like, you know, $5, $10, $15, whatever.
Yeah.
I want to go back to how long is too long to wait for someone to show up on a first date.
For this one, I go with the college class rule, which is if the teacher doesn't show up in 15 minutes, you get credit for being there, but you can leave.
So this is interesting.
My time is valuable.
The reason I brought this up is because one of our good friends went on a date and it was like her. First of all, she's fucking awesome. I'm not going to say her name because of the situation, but like she's fucking awesome. And she went on her first Hinge date in like 6 months or a year, some like long time.
Good for her.
And she was like, I'm trying. She got dressed up. She got super cute, like all this stuff. And she went and she, like she doesn't drink. So she didn't get to just like, because here's my thing.
Get there, grab a drink, sit down.
If I'm waiting on a date, I'm sitting at the bar and I'm just like making friends. Like I'll forget I even have a date. I'll be on a new date. Like last night.
Yeah, there you go.
That was supposed to meet me. I texted. He was like, oh, blah, 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 my timeline. And I was like, all good, but you might want to get here before someone else swoops me up.
Woo!
Zero fucks. No, but it's very different if you're just sitting there.
Like twiddling your thumbs.
For her, he didn't communicate and he didn't show up. The thing about it is if you communicate and you say, hey, I'm
stuck in traffic.
I'm gonna be late, even if you don't give a timeline. Ideally, you give a timeline. He didn't communicate. It was like 25 minutes.
Oh.
And then within the same few days, I went on a date. And to be fair, I had been like, hey, I'm a little unsure about like my timeline. I'm doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but I think it's going to be 7:30. And then about an hour at like 6:30, I was like, confirm. I will be there at 7:30. I got there at 7:25, which I was very proud of myself because I thought I was going to be late.
You go, Glen Coco.
But I get there and I'm like, hey, just parked you here. And he's like, on my way. He doesn't say how long, how
stuck in
far,
traffic, whatever.
Just on my way. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. He's probably driving. But So I go into the bar, and I'm not, also, ladies, fellas, everyone, if you get there, don't be afraid to just like get a drink. Like, don't
I always
like
get a drink.
I feel like some people wait for their date. It's not like rude or impolite. Just get yourself a drink, chill, enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm. I do it every single time. It also, for me, because I don't always like that like anticipation of like, are they going to pay? Like, what do we do? I just go and I order it for myself. I am a strong, independent woman.
I am too, but I still like it when a man buys me a drink.
Also true.
But the reason is you might be like me and waiting for 35 fucking minutes.
That's a long ass time.
Marie texted me 2 hours later. She's like, did he ever show up?
Yeah.
But here's the best part of that particular situation. I got to the bar, literally had not had a single drink that day. I get there, I'm bullshitting with the bartender. I get an electric jellyfish. I sit down. I'm like, I think I was texting you.
You're texting me.
I think you were not going through something, but you were like, we were having a conversation about like some drama or some bullshit. And so I'm like texting her. I've got my phone in one hand, beer in one hand. And this pint glass slips out of my hand, spills, and smashes an entire pint of the most expensive beer in Austin. One of the most expensive beers.
It's such a good beer. It's so worth it.
Breaks and spills everywhere. And I just look up at the bartender who I've just befriended, who I've just said I'm waiting for. Because he's like, what brings you in? I was like, oh, I'm waiting for a Hinge date. So he already knows my life story. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And he was like, what? I was like,
I spilled.
I spilled the whole beer and I broke my glass. And he's like, oh man. I was like, what timing though? Am I right? My stand-up comedian, internal.
Oh my God.
I was like, but am I right? He did get a giggle. I felt bad. I felt so bad. But
you didn't do it on purpose.
Girl, that happened and this dude was still 20 minutes later.
Yeah. That's in 20 minutes, depending on how quickly you drink, you could be almost done with your beer by then.
Here's the thing that kind of ticked me. He didn't acknowledge it when he showed up. He just showed up.
That's rude.
If I'm 5 minutes late, I'm just
I'm apologizing.
Right. I'm just because it is. It's like a time thing. What if I only had an hour?
Right.
Don't show up at that point. But the thing that kind of bugged me was he didn't acknowledge the fact that he was 35 minutes.
That's not even late. That's
a whole different date.
That is literally.
You showed up tomorrow.
I was going to say that's counted as an absence, going back to my college analogy. He is absent. He did not show up.
I'm going to change your name in my phone to Professor Marie.
I kind of like that.
I'm not actually, because then I'll be texting you drunk. I'll be I'll end up texting Paul.
Woof. So, Michelle, how soon is too soon to say I love you?
I knew you were going to throw this at me. For me or for normal people?
Anyone. All of the above.
So when I think about this one, let's assume we're talking about full-grown adults. Okay. Well, because when you're in
middle
school,
good point.
Remember,
yeah.
When I was in middle school, I'm like, I love you.
I didn't even know what the fuck love was. I said it all the time.
JJ on your skateboard. That was one of my longest relationships. 3 months with JJ on a skateboard.
That's a long time for that age.
He has a baby, or several now, maybe. I don't know.
Weird.
Everyone.
Does he still have a skateboard? Oh my God, this guy at the show last night. I was at a pop punk concert. And one of the opener band, he was hilarious. And he was like, yeah, you can find me riding around Dallas on my skateboard because I don't have a car. I was like, okay. You got your guitar on that skateboard, buddy?
Oh, guaranteed. When we were at Eastside Tavern last night, this guy was on an electric skateboard of some sort.
Oh, one of those hovering things?
Unknown.
Those are weird.
Towing his kayak.
Shut the front door.
It was the most Austin
That is,
thing
I was
I've
just going to
seen,
say, that is hilarious.
My brother's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like,
of course he was.
Well, I was like, where am I? What's in this margarita? Like,
literally only in Austin.
If someone's gonna drug me, please just let me know first.
Defeats the purpose, but
okay,
go on.
I digress. So this one is like, I think it's interesting because I think this is more relative to like how your relationship progresses rather than a certain day or time. For me, if someone's saying it within the first, like, again, like few dates, I'm like, oh, you
red flag,
you, yeah,
deal breaker,
you wild, you crazy. Like, I mean, I would fall in love with me,
obviously,
but then if I dated myself, we would both end up in rehab. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if I met a guy who was like just like me?
That would be terrifying.
And also Scorpio.
Oh no.
This whole fucking building would burn down.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, yeah, it's a tough one because it's like everyone, the other thing too is like everyone has a different, I don't want to say like meaning or approach to that.
110%.
But I don't think there's a timeline for that. But I think there's too soon in terms of feeling pressured or obligated to say it. And I also think people hold a different weight to it.
Yes.
Like if someone were to look me in the eyes and be like, I love you, I'd be like,
panic attack.
You know?
Yeah.
But for other people, like, well, and with friends, right? Like, or whatever.
Right.
But when it comes to like a relationship, a romantic interest.
I've even had friends tell me I love you too soon. And I was like, I don't know you like that.
Well, there's like, I love you. And then there's like, love ya.
Still.
I'm like, me to every bartender in Austin. Love ya.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey, thanks. What do you think on this?
I think I agree with you completely. Like, I think it really depends on your, I think the weight that you put on the word love more than anything else. Because I don't, like, when people say it too soon, not only does it give me like a panic attack, and when I say too soon, I mean within that, like, you know, first few months of dating timeline, not only does that give me a panic attack, but it also makes me feel like you probably say that to everybody. Like, it doesn't carry the weight for you that it does for me. And while I do believe that there are different types of love, you can fall in love multiple times.
The Spanish language has so many variations of the word.
That's beautiful.
To like, and I can't remember them off the top of my head, but like to show kind of like familial love versus like romantic love versus like sexual love
and friends and all that stuff. Yeah. And there are, and like even within like romantic love and relationships, there are different, the way that I loved, you know, my ex wasn't necessarily the same way I loved somebody else. And so I think like it just makes me feel like they don't care about it as much and they don't take it very seriously. And so to me, that's just generally like a red flag. And I'm like, okay, well, we're probably not on the same page about this. I'm not sure if we're going to be on the same page about other things. So to me, I feel like it's also kind of like a symptom of something else. Does that make sense? Maybe not symptom.
I was like symptom. No, I think that's really fair because that's kind of where my mind goes as well, as like the weight of it is very different for different people, and the way you use it is also different. Like, but it is, I mean, it's a strong statement.
It is. It's bold.
It is a strong statement. And maybe that's like, again, how we view it, and maybe other people don't, but for me, if someone is saying that in a relationship, like, we are like there, like we are in it, like we are.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of a tangent, but on I think it was on You Up, of course, Jordana. They were reading an email about, or they were talking about like casual versus, or maybe it was on J Train and it was one of his guests, casual versus serious relationship. And this most simple, and in my opinion, like accurate definition was, in a casual relationship, it's like, I will, I do. You think of yourself, and then the other person might be involved.
I think that was You Up.
In a serious relationship, you think in terms of we. Mm-hmm. Dude, I was like walking blue, and I was like, oh, shit. But it's so true. And that's like, that's kind of when I talk about, for me, like, because I haven't been in a relationship in like, oh, shit, it's Memorial Day weekend. Like three years, maybe more. I don't know. Anyways, because like to me, it's when you go into that relationship, you're not compromising in a bad way, but like you're compromising. You're a duo. You're thinking
about somebody else's needs, not necessarily above your own, but you're like taking into consideration, like, for example, like last night I was getting dressed for the show and I was going to put on like one of my kind of like brassiere tops. And I was like, Luke isn't coming with me. Would he get upset about this?
Oh, interesting.
I don't think he would. I ended up going with the ratio top anyways because I was feeling kind of fat. But
no, but that is a good point where it's like, it's just that like, when you make certain decisions, you're considering the other person. And again, it's not like control or this or that or this doesn't matter. But like when you're in a serious relationship, you have to consider another person.
How will they view this?
Yeah. Or how will they feel? Or how does this affect them? Or like, are we going to the wedding? Are we doing, for certain things, right?
Right. Like I am going to Chicago in August. Like he is not going with me. He was not invited. Nothing against him, but like I didn't get a +1 on the wedding. So
no, I didn't either. And prior to our episode with Kristen, I like texted my friends. Yeah. And I was like, can I bring, like, is it like, it's cool, right? Cool? It's cool. And they're like, well, we don't want you like driving alone. So like if you have to, and I'm like, but we need to know who. And I was like, oh yeah, no. It was just gonna be a like it was right. I was gonna see if one of my friends would go, but I was like, oh, never mind. It's cool. So hopefully there's at least like one single guy there.
Yeah, it's always fun.
I need an outfit.
I'll help. So Michelle, to kind of backtrack, we'll backtrack and then maybe forward. How soon is too soon to be exclusive? We'll take a step back before I love you.
This one is like preference as well. I feel like there are a lot of people that for them it's like as soon as they're physical with someone, that's for them that's that point where they have that conversation or make that assumption. I mean, see, this is give me the hard ones today. I mean, before you have a conversation, in my opinion, A. B is like, I would say within the first like 3 dates.
Oh, yeah.
Because like the first date, you're literally meeting
for the first time.
The second date, you're probably like establishing a little bit more of a connection. Mm-hmm. And then the third date, I think, is potentially, because a lot of people don't make it to a third date.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So the third date is where you're like, oh, we've hung out. My brain just went in a very weird
I can
place.
tolerate you.
God, my brain just went down a very weird rabbit hole. I would say, I mean, not me personally, but generalizing, I would say before like the third date, because Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
But some people also...
You literally don't know the person. Unless it was like a friend that you're dating.
But some people are also just... That's how they operate anyways. Yeah. But I think having that conversation and expecting that of someone else, not knowing like how they operate.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like... I think I did that once actually with a guy that I dated for like literally one summer. I think we made it official and like actually went to boyfriend girlfriend titles within the first month. And to be fair, like our first couple of dates were within the same like week, and so it like moved very quickly, and then it crashed and burned. Like
shocked,
right? But I think exclusivity, even if you're not asking the person to be exclusive when you're physical with them, I think it's fair to be like, to ask if they are sleeping with other people.
For sure.
From a health standpoint.
Well, and there's also, when we talk about exclusivity, there's two like sides to it, right? One is, to me, there's like, are you still going out and seeking,
yes.
like, are you still on the, whether you're sleeping together or not, right? Mm-hmm. Like, are either of you still like on the apps? Are you still dating? If you meet someone, are you like,
are you going to go home with them?
Are you trying to like whatever? And then there's like the physical piece. And for sure, there's a lot of elements to having that like physical interaction where you need to be honest and transparent about your sexual health and your, you know, whatever that looks like. Or whatever you're doing. Yeah. To be fair to that other person.
And I think exclusivity happened a lot quicker in the past year or so because of the pandemic. And because we're not only talking about sexual health, we're talking about like COVID, physical health as well. Like sexual health is physical health, I guess, but
no one's even talking about STD testing anymore. We're just talking about like COVID.
Yeah, literally. Like also like STD tests are so much less invasive. If I never have to get another COVID test, it will be too soon. Shit hurts.
Oh, well, there's like the mouth swab now. That's like very easy. But.
Oh, well, the nose thing fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on that note.
Michelle, what do you think? Should we wrap it up?
How soon is too soon to end a podcast episode?
After 5 minutes.
Or how long is too long?
We go.
We played that game before, but we tried to split it up. But when we did like that double episode with Cole,
that was a lot.
No, literally,
nobody
listened.
We
had one listener.
Yeah, it was your mom.
So how long is too long is over. I would say like an hour.
Yeah, I feel like an hour 15 is about the length of time I have to listen to somebody else's. So agreed. I would give myself the same grace.
On that note. Find us across platforms at Swipe in the City.
Yep. And Marie R. Carlson for me on Insta.
M. Craig PDX. Michelle Craig on. Oh, I should not put my last. Well, I guess everyone knows my last name.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry. I just had a breakdown there.
It's fine.
Anyways, love y'all. Like, share, comment, message us, slide into our DMs with your bullshit.
Please.
Let's play.
Love you guys. Power Rangers out.
Power Rangers out.